Most parents don't doubt themselves because they don't care. They doubt themselves because they care deeply, but they're overwhelmed. Between advice, rules, and constant comparison, it starts to feel safer to trust someone else more than you trust yourself. But what if the confidence you're looking for was never missing? It's just buried under the noise. By the end of this episode, you will have a clear roadmap to start letting go of beliefs that don't serve you and reclaim your confidence as a parent. My name is Efrat Amira. I'm a mom of 3 boys, ages 4, 8, and 12. I'm a parenting coach, and I'm passionate about integrating ancient wisdom into the way that we parent our children today. Now let's dive in. I constantly see on different parenting groups parents that are seeking therapists for their children. Now, I'm not saying that therapy is bad, but I do think that you need to trust yourself more and know that you have what it takes in order to raise your children. The real problem actually lies when you don't trust yourself enough. Now, why did we stop trusting ourselves as parents? This started because we have adopted beliefs that undermine our confidence as parents and not really letting us step into our parenting role in the way that we are intended to do. I want to break down 10 of those beliefs that are killing our confidence. We're going to try to understand where they come from, and I'm going to suggest a different belief that can help you step into your role as a parent with more confidence and self-trust. The first belief is that kids are fragile and that they can be traumatized by every little thing. If we believe that our kids are fragile and can be traumatized by every little thing, then it's very hard for us to have the bandwidth to let our kids deal with challenges. It's very hard for us to trust that they have what it takes and that we have what it takes to help them overcome the challenges that they are facing with right now. Now, this is a belief that we started to adopt as a society in the last 20 to 30 years. And the implications of it is that we are over-parenting our children and we are worrying about them too much, not letting them deal with just natural challenges that all kids used to deal with in the past. And we don't trust that they can handle it, and we don't trust that we can handle it. Now, this doesn't mean that you are a bad parent. It just means that you were convinced by this social trend. So how can we start switching that belief? We need to remember that human beings actually grow out of discomfort, out of challenge, and out of adversity. We are meant to deal with challenges. That is the only way that we can mature, become independent, realize what we're made of, and really develop a deep sense of self-confidence that will support us in dealing with all the challenges that are going to come our way. And if as parents, we don't trust that our kids can deal with whatever it is they're facing, and we don't trust that we can just let them go through what they're going, we don't have to rush them to a therapist. Just let them deal and just be there. Be there as a shoulder to cry on. Be there as somebody who can support, maybe someone who can give some advice from our life experience. Maybe just be someone that they can just sit next to. We don't need much. We just need to let our children deal with the challenge that they are dealing with and be there for them. We don't need to rush them to a therapist to deal with those challenges. The second belief is that there is a good and there is a bad parent. The idea of good parenting is a new idea. If you talk to your parents, you talk to your grandparents, the discourse wasn't around if you are a good or a bad parent. Everybody were just parents, and they did the best that they could with the knowledge that they knew, with the way that they were raised, with the knowledge from their community, with the values that they were brought up on. So we have this idea in our head that there is this model of a good parent. And if the way that I am in my parenting is not close to that ideal that I have in my mind of a good parent, it means that I'm not a good parent. So how do we start letting go of that? We start letting go of that by understanding and really believing that there are no mistakes in nature, that your children were born to you because you have what it takes in order to parent them. And if you want to take it into a more spiritual level, actually you were chosen to be your children's parents because you were trusted with that role. And you have exactly what it takes in order to do that role. So if you start to trust yourself and stop comparing yourself to that model of a good parent parent that you have in your mind, you will be able to settle into your role in a much more confident way. Third belief is the idea of equality. We live in a society where equality matters above all. And the idea of equality is an amazing idea, right? Because of equality, there are rights for women, just like men have. Because of equality, there are rights for blacks, just like white people have. Because of equality, there are rights for children, right? The equality idea is such an important idea in our democratic societies, and I definitely don't want to let that go. The problem is that the family system is not an equal system. It's actually a hierarchical system. And it's not because our children are not equal to us. Our children are equal to us because they are also souls, because they were also made in the image of God, because they also have dignity as humans. In that aspect, they are equal to us. They are not equal to us in their life experience, in their life perspective, in their brain development, in their nervous system development, in their knowledge of how things work in the world. They actually need us to be the ones that lead them. They need us to be the ones that are on top of the hierarchy, because that means that they can be on the bottom and just be kids. They can just occupy their time with learning about themselves, learning about their world, playing and just being kids. So the family structure is hierarchical and not equal. And if we're able to let go of that equality idea inside our family, we will be able in a much easier way to step into the role of that benevolent leader that our kids need us to be for them. The fourth idea is something that is ingrained in our society for a few decades, and it is the idea that children are born perfect and that society corrupts them. This idea came from the philosopher Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and he had a huge influence in the way that we understand parenting and education today, where we have this belief that everything that we can do, where we're carrying the belief that our children are perfect and whole exactly as they are, and society actually ruins them. So if we take that belief inside our parenting, it means that things that we are doing in our home can actually damage our children, can actually ruin the perfection that they came with into this world. If we're holding that belief, it's very hard for us to parent, because parenting means changing our children. Parenting means taking who they are and molding them and shaping them to be a mature person, to be an independent adult. So if they're already perfect the way that they are, how can I do that as a parent? If we are able to let go of that belief and adopt a different belief, a belief that comes from ancient wisdom, a belief that says that every human being is born with a potential, is born with a potential to be good and to be bad. And children are inherently born selfish. Children are born with asking from society to give them, to do things for them. They are born with different natural tendencies that are not really compatible with being in a good relationship with another person. So our job as parents is actually to find that good potential that they have inside of them that they don't know exists and needs to be exposed to the world. And I'm going to give a concrete example for that, okay? If I see that my child is crying because he doesn't want to share his toy, right? Then I can show him that if he decides to share, he feels much better inside. Another example for older kids. If I see that my child doesn't want to help around the house because he rather just sit around and be on his computer, I can show him that if he goes and do something that is productive, he will feel much better about himself. So he will expose that part in himself that is actually good. And that part is always about contributing and giving to other people. So to sum this idea up, our children are not born perfect, but are born with the potential to be good or bad, meaning that as parents, we have the role to show them the potential of being good, show them how they can expose in themselves the behaviors and the traits that are inherently good within them, but are many times and very naturally covered by selfish tendencies, covered by immature tendencies. We need to help them grow out of that so they will become mature, independent people in the world. The fifth belief that we are holding in our society is the idea of freedom. Freedom above all for everybody. right? Everybody needs to have the freedom to be who they are and express themselves, to do what they want, right? This is something that we hold dear in our society. And this is a very important idea, right? We do want to live in a society where we are free to express ourselves, where we are free to be who we are. That's absolutely important. But if we are holding that idea inside our parenting, then how can we as parents limit our children's freedom by setting boundaries on them, by setting rules on them? It doesn't feel right to us as parents if we believe that their freedom is above all. Then I cannot really step into my leadership role because it's a morally bad thing for me to do as a parent. So how can we switch that idea? We need to understand that freedom without limitations, without boundaries, is complete chaos. It's a place where children or people just don't feel safe. A chaotic environment is not a healthy environment for anyone. It brings out the worst in people, and it's a fertile ground for mental distress. So as parents, we need to understand that, yes, we need to give our children a sense of freedom, but that freedom has to be within set boundaries and rules that we determine as parents. And if you need help to understand what are those limits and boundaries and rules that you want to set for your children, I really recommend downloading my values worksheet. In this values worksheet, you will be prompted to come up with your 10 top values. And from those 10 top values, you can break it down to the rules and boundaries that you set in your house. And once you have that general idea of your values, you will understand that the limitations that you're setting on your children stem from your values. And when they stem from your values, they are much more stronger, and it will give you a deep sense of confidence because your rules and limitations are not arbitrary. They are based on what's important for you in life, and they are based on your life experience. So check that out in the show notes. There is a ton of parenting information out there. Books, YouTube, podcasts, social media. But you know what's missing? What's missing is daily guidance. How to deal with the day-to-day situations with our kids when they're not doing their homework, when they're not cleaning the room, when they're fighting all day, when they're just not cooperative, when they're being bullied at school. Every day presents so many challenges as parents that we need to deal with on a daily basis. And many times it feels like we need to do it all alone. That is why I created the Parenting Wisdom community. In this community, you will get daily support from me, where you can post your questions, things that are troubling you in your parenting, and I will guide you step by step on how to deal with it. In addition, you're going to get monthly parenting workshops that are going to be exclusive to this group. Find all the details in the link in the comments. I hope to see many of you there. The sixth belief is that there isn't a clear moral foundation in our society anymore. We're not sure exactly what is right and what is wrong. And because of that, it's very hard for us to parent. If there isn't a very clear value set that we hold dear as a society, how can I make my parental choices inside my family if I'm not sure about what is right and what is wrong? So how can we start switching that belief? We need to start believing that what we hold dear in our life, that is what is right for us. And we have our own moral compass. We have our moral compass that is based on our past, that is based on our traditions, that is based on our religion, or on our family rituals, that is based on something that is bigger than ourselves. And that is what we want to pass on to our children. We want to teach our children our values because that is what we hold dear to our heart. So yes, we do have a confusion about what is moral and what is not. But you and your family, you have a great idea of what is morally right and what is morally wrong in your family. So have that as your North Star as a parent. Hold on to that. And again, check out the values worksheet to get a better idea of what are the values you hold dear in your home. The seventh belief is that the child needs to be the center of the family. So we are living a very child-centric society where we believe that everything has to be revolved around our children. We have to be revolved around their activities, their school, their friends, their birthday parties, their events, whatever it is, meaning that we have to always have our schedule revolving around them. We always have to have our minds revolving around what our children need. And the truth is that when we parent from that place, we're actually doing a disservice to our children because our children need to learn that they are part of a family, that they are part of a whole. Not only that is actually the reality, that they are not the center, but they are part of. It's a much more healthy place to be mentally, to know that you are part of and not in the center. And when we parent from that place, we start to trust ourselves more. We start to understand that our needs matter also as parents, and that we need to take into consideration the family as a whole when we make our decisions and choices in parenting. That's another way that we can start regaining our confidence in our parenting, making sure that we know that our children are not in the center, but they are part of a whole group. And actually, to take it a step further, that in the hierarchy of the family, we are the ones that are on top and our children are the ones that are in the bottom. The eighth belief that is undermining our confidence in parenting is that we started to believe that we need to embrace all the emotions of our children, that we need to tend to all their feelings. And this comes from an idea that their emotions and their feelings are all a part of who they are. So I have to accept all of them, including their negative and positive emotions, so they will feel that I accept them completely, that they will feel that I unconditionally love them. But if we parent from that point of view in our mind, it makes it very hard for us to parent, because when we are stepping into our authority as parents, it means that many times it's going to bring up negative emotions in our children. They're going to get angry, frustrated. They're not going to get what they want, right? We're setting boundaries for them, and that will stir up and bring up a lot of emotions. So if I need to embrace all those emotions, it kind of gets me into this stuck place of, okay, what do I do now, right? So I stirred up all the emotions. Now I need to accept all those emotions. It gets me stuck in a place in my parenting. So what is the solution for this? The solution comes actually from ancient wisdom. This idea is taken from the book Winning Every Moment by Dr. Yechiel Harari. I also have an interview with him about this topic. So if you want to understand this idea in a deeper level, you can find it up here. But the idea is that negative emotions are not who our children are. And this connects to another point that I talked about before. The negative emotions is something that we need to help our kids overcome, because it is not a part of who they are. It's something that is overtaking them, and we need to show them that they can overcome it. So if I'm parenting from this place where the negative emotions aren't my children and I don't need to accept all those negative emotions, it gives me a much more empowered stance as a parent, knowing that, okay, I set boundaries to my child, I stir up those negative emotions, but my role now is to help them overcome those negative emotions and see that they have a potential to be good. They have a potential to behave well. They have a potential to make the right choice in this moment. And when they do that, that is who they truly are. That is the potential that I want to see. That is where I want to elevate them towards. The ninth belief that is undermining our parental confidence is that we started to believe that we are to blame for our children's behavior, meaning that my child is behaving badly or is being rude or is being defiant because of something that I did as a parent. We are blaming ourselves always. And if we come from that place, it means that we're always carrying that blame and guilt upon ourselves, and that really doesn't let us parent effectively. So what is the alternative belief that we need to carry in order to really step into our confidence as parents? We need to understand and we need to deeply believe that our children always have a choice. Even when they're young, they always have a choice on how to believe. We cannot blame their behavior on anything that is external to them, but their choice. And that is something, that is a mindset that we need to carry inside of us, and that is a mindset that we need to teach our children always. We need to teach them that they are choosing to behave the way they are, not because of us, not because of any external circumstance, because they have a choice and they are choosing to behave the way that they're behaving right now, and they can also choose to behave differently. So we can guide them to that different behavior and show them that when they choose the behavior of being cooperative, they actually feel much better in themselves. The 10th and last belief that I want to break down is that if there is something wrong with my child, I need to fix it right now. Many of us parents, we get so worried, we get so troubled when we see something wrong that is happening with our child. Maybe they're having trouble in school, maybe it's hard for them to learn, maybe they're behind in their reading and their math, maybe they're having a hard time socially. All these things that our children are dealing with, we feel as parents that we need to fix it right right now. So how do we fix it? Many times we try to find the solution outside of our family, right? Whether it's a therapist, a teacher, somebody to guide them, somebody that is outside of ourselves. So basically we're outsourcing our authority as parents to somebody else, not believing that we have what it takes within ourselves to help them overcome what it is that they're going through right now. So what is the alternative belief that we need to adopt? We need to remember that all these challenges that our kids are going through, and I'm not talking about things that are extreme, I'm talking about regular children's challenges. All these things children have been dealing with for centuries. We dealt with it when we were young and we overcame it. Sometimes these things just take time. Sometimes they will grow out of it. Sometimes they will mature. Sometimes they will change an environment and things will just resolve by themselves. We don't have to rush and hurry to fix everything. We need to let our children be in those challenging moments. That is the only place where they will understand what it means to have hardship, what it means to be challenged, what it means to not always get what I want. And from those places, they will gain true self-confidence, knowing that they went through hard things in their life without having somebody to fix it is the most empowering thing that we can do for our children. So those were the 10 parenting beliefs that we started to adopt in our parenting in the past 20 to 30 years, that if we are able to let go of all the noise, we will be able to step into our role as parents and be more confident in our role and knowing that we have exactly what it takes in order to raise our children. So let me know in the comments below, which one of those beliefs are you holding in your mind that is making you trust yourself less as a parent? If you enjoyed this episode, check out another episode where I talk about instilling the idea in our children that they always have a choice.